think this would be an issue. Okay. Cool. So we're rolling. I know you got a busy day, so I'll get you right back to it. So you're home now. You're not in DC anymore. You guys kind of took care of what you needed to, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, as you see it right now, policy wise, what's the main impasse here?
Well, the Democrats don't want to pass a CR. This is specifically the Democrats in Senate. Obviously, we just need a simple majority in the House. Ironically, this is the same CR we passed back in December, unanimously by the Democrats, by the way, not unanimously with the Republicans. I voted against it. There's the irony. I voted against it because I thought it was too bloated of a spending bill. We spend about 7 trillion. We bring in about 5 trillion. We're 30% in deficit spending per year. That's why we have $3 trillion added to our debt every single year. We're approaching $40 trillion of deficit or debt, I should say. That's unacceptable. However, we made a compromise. I voted for the CR because I didn't want to close down the government. I wanted more time for the budgetary process to work. That was in good faith. I voted for a Democratic. This is Pelosi spending levels, by the way, from the COVID era. I voted to actually do that against my own judgment because I want to see a smaller budget. But I voted for it because I thought, well, this is the way we keep the government open, and in good faith, we work on a budget process. Ironically, the Democrats who voted unanimously for the same CR before now all of a sudden want to play games and shut down the government because it's not good enough. They want to leverage, even though they're in the minority in the Senate, the House, and they don't have the presidency, they all of a sudden want to leverage this to spend $1 trillion extra money. For what? What are they trying to fund? Look at what they're trying to fund, and you'll see that not. And I'm not talking about stuff that are going to be defunded because of the CR, which is the government shutdown, which is on them, by the way. That's totally on them because we're trying to keep the government open. They're going to defund WIC. They're going to defund the parks. They're going to defund people who are government non-essential employees. And I might want to add, by the way, emergency personnel are still going to be at work. We're still going to have the military. We're still going to have border security. We're still going to have park services to an extent until they run out of money. Pell Grant's still going to be funded. But they're the ones defunding the government. Let's be very clear about that. And that's so they can stuff the pockets of insurance companies making record profits so they can make sure that illegals are funded for health care. This is all on them to basically pay back their investors. This is nothing that they should be fighting for.
Yeah. And do you see, from their perspective, do you see healthcare as kind of the main issue that's holding this all up?
It is, but what for? What are they trying to subsidize? They want to add back the waste, fraud, and abuse that we cut from Medicaid. You're talking about millions of people who are on Medicaid who maybe don't even know they're on Medicaid. First of all, the fraudulent sign-up process, the people who are sitting at home not looking for jobs, not even trying to get job training, not doing volunteer work, doing the worst possible thing they could do for themselves, which is to sit at home. That's a really good way to become depressed, anxious, suicidal, drug use, alcohol use, sitting at home with nothing to do and no future. Horrible idea by the Democrats. They're fighting the wrong fight.
And I know Reagan mentioned the constituent service link that you guys have on your website. And so I wanted to ask you, what services are you most concerned about your constituents losing during the shutdown?
Most of the stuff that you worry about, you're not going to lose. It gives you a resource plan. You go to my website, you'll be able to see what is and isn't offered, what the government details for the shutdown are going to be, and then what can you actually ask from my office if you're having problems as a result. For example, when we had to shut down, I've been through a couple shutdowns as a military guy, and I'll tell you right away, USAA and other agencies immediately said, hey, look, we understand you may not get paid for a little while. You're going to get paid. Nobody doesn't get paid unless they're fired. But you're going to get paid. We'll hold it over, no interest. We'll take care of you. Almost every entity, whether it be in a utility, a mortgage, a bank, everybody understands what this means and they'll work with you and realize that right off the bat. You don't need government intervention. The businesses will take care of you.
Yeah, you mentioned firings. I know the White House, the OMB has mentioned that they could take this opportunity during the shutdown to just lay off more federal workers. Is that something that concerns you? We have a lot of them here in Metro Atlanta, or are you in support of that?
Well, there is a huge government problem. We've expanded one of the biggest expanding job markets we've had during the Biden administration. And this is why I say they're conflated numbers, is in government jobs. That's not what you want to see, your sector growth. That's imbalanced. That's a good way if you want to be a socialist country, you want everybody to work for the government, but it's not very good if you want to have accountable organizations, businesses, growing wealth, growing upward mobility, making sure that this is not about a bloated government, but about funding businesses that actually make a profit and raise everybody's standard of living. The problem is it's only government workers now that have pensions. Pretty much all businesses don't do pensions anymore. They do 401ks, they do federal savings. Matter of fact, even the military doesn't have pensions anymore. We switched over to a thrift savings plan where you buy in. That way, if you leave early, you get to take some sort of retirement with you. And the longer you're in, the better it is. The Congress doesn't have a pension. So realize that only government employees with their unions are the only ones getting pensions now. This idea that we have not enough government workers is ridiculous. Yeah. Will you ever have enough services that you want? Of course, everybody wants something for nothing, but it's not for nothing. This costs money. And the more you have money in your pocket and you can pay out of pocket, the more efficient it'll be. When you rely on a government system and name one government agency that's run effectively and efficiently, and I'd like to see, I used to say it was the post office. We've obviously proven that to be wrong. But we have a problem in the government with a bloated government where we're, once again, 30% over on our budget. We need to do something about that. This is an opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So explicitly, you would support, Russell Vought in the White House, maybe taking that opportunity to fire a federal worker.
As long as it's one, so I want to also approach this with a caveat. I remember when Doge was cutting jobs and then hiring people back 2 days later. I don't think that's a good idea. Let's do this steady and sure. Make sure it's jobs that are either with duplicate jobs that can be replaced by AI or something to make us leaner and meaner, but not to get rid of services that we need that you're going to be hiring right back. If you're going to have to hire them back again, don't fire them. That's a bad idea. But if it's bloated government, absolutely get rid of it.
I appreciate that. What do you think will happen next? Because the last shutdown we had in 2019, 35 days, it was the longest in history. What do you think is going to happen during this government shutdown? How long might it last?
So I did my research on that, and that was basically over the border wall. Remember, Trump was held hostage over the border wall. He wanted the border wall completed. The Democrats were totally trying to defund that. They tried to flood the United States, even starting back then with millions upon millions of illegal invaders. And that's what I'm calling. They're not immigrants. They're not coming here legally. They were basically bursting through the walls. We lost over 2 million of them. Didn't even know who they were. They could be terrorists. They could be anybody for that matter. They could have drugs. We were flooded with well over 10 million people. Which is going to reapportion the way we vote in congressional districts, how we apportion our money, our tax money to pay for those people, whether it be their health care, their education, or whatever it is for their well-being. That totally disrupted our market and our economy and our government spending. They did that on purpose. And eventually President Trump said, okay, we'll reopen the government. We won't get funding. And then he diverted military funds on an emergency basis to try to complete the wall. Of course, the famous 2020 election happened. They stopped building the wall. They allowed over 10 million people in the country, and the rest is history, as we say. That's why they lost the election, because they overstepped. They did something America did not want. That's a 70% issue. And now we're back in a situation. Now they've shut the government down for what? Once again, to provide insurance for those 10 million people they let into America. Shame on them. I don't think they're going to win this one. I think they're going to be the ones reopening, and I think they're going to have egg on their face as a result.
Yeah, just one other thing on the healthcare aspect of this. I know that we talked about the Medicaid, the $1 trillion being bloat, but the ACA subsidies, there are an estimated 1.4 million Georgians that could lose those subsidies. Is that something that even in your own constituency, you're talking to people about, you're concerned about?
Yeah, if you're talking about, of course, you're not talking about the shutdown right now. You're talking about the actual CR that we passed, right?
Yes, I know that was kind of a sticking point for Democrats was to have those ACA subsidies stick around when they were set to it.
Yeah. So the ACA subsidies, how affordable have the ACA subsidies made your insurance premiums? Let's do math on that. The Affordable Care Act needs to be replaced. Since you had the Affordable Care Act, your premiums have gone up about 90%. Now it costs an average American family $26,000 per year. It is the most expensive thing you have on your docket. Second most expensive business expense. The biggest expense to government. The ACA has done nothing but stuff the insurance pockets of the top 10 Fortune 500 companies in America. for them are insurance companies making record profits. Insurance premiums have gone up by about 30% since the Affordable Care Act. Sorry, 89% since the Affordable Care Act, and their profits have gone up 230%. Now, we've been subsidizing that, and they're going to raise your premiums, by the way, in this November by about another 9%. Do you think they're the good guys? Who are we benefiting? Special interests? Of course we are. This is the awful hybrid that we've created by the Affordable Care Act. It's not good for America. It's unsustainable. You can't do it. You're going to pay for it one way or another. Don't think that by rewarding insurance companies, by the way, which deny about a third of all claims, up to 40% in the ER, even though we have electronic medical records, a scribe, a coder, and I spend hours after my shift doing my paperwork, they're going to die anywhere from a third to even more, 40% of all claims, because they can. No repercussions. It's interstate commerce. Very hard to sue them. They dare you to sue them because they know you're going to give up. And guess who has to pay for that? The American taxpayer. This is a bad, bad healthcare system. We need to fix it now.
I appreciate it, Congressman. Thank you so much. Give me one sec. I'm going to